Hello, and welcome to Desk Pop. Before we get into our regular pop culture filled discussion, we must first briefly mention what's going on right now in our country.
There are lots of protests happening across the United States, and now even in other countries, in response to the horrible murder of George Floyd at the hands of several police officers, as well as the accumulation of other acts of police brutality targeting people of color that have gone unheard, unrecorded, and undocumented.
Our thoughts and our hearts go out to the protesters who are out right now, as well as those helping to amplify the voices that need to be heard. Please be safe, please be healthy, and please wear masks.
Though we both agree that it is sometimes healthy for people to seek outlets and distractions from what's happening around us right now, we both believe that not addressing this at all would make us complicit to the bigoted behavior and white supremacy that has led to these protests.
Because we ourselves are not experts or opinion leaders for the black experience, police brutality, racial injustice, or systematic oppression, we will be providing resources linked in the description on what you can do to help from home, as well as some other places you can donate to help the protesters and those in need of financial aid.
Again, please be safe out there. All lives cannot matter until Black Lives Matter.
That being said, please enjoy this episode of Desk Pop.
Hello!
Oh, me? Are you talking to me?
No, I'm talking to our audience.
Oh,
Today on Deskpop, we're talking about Pokemon animated shorts, including Twilight Wings and the westernized animation. We're talking about our review of Space Force, the Netflix show, and we talk shit about J.K. Rowling the entire episode.
she sucks.
She sucks, and we hate her.
Welcome to Desk Pop.
Welcome to Deskpop. Howdy!
Hello.
How's it going, Andy?
I'm doing as well as I can. How are you, Brian?
That's good. I'm doing well as well.
Yep, yep. What have you been up to?
I've been up to a couple things. I watched all of Space Force today. I watched the movie Becky. I have played more Minecraft Dungeons, more Animal Crossing. I have seen the Pokemon shirts we talked about in a previous episode. I think one of the first episodes. Um, they are offering now Johto Pokemon fabric, and also so there's Dunsparce shirts, which I am
Have
about
you
to
already
pay.
purchased one?
I'm about to pay $100 to buy a Dunsparce fabric
Oh,
button-up
you mean
shirt.
worth it?
I think it would be totally worth it. And then they also have polos as well, so definitely interesting. I'll probably make a purchase there because my birthday's coming up. And then there was
Nice.
a Pokemon Direct 2 where they showed us the Galarian Slowbro fully, and then the typings for the 3 Galarian legendary birds, and also revealed the names for the 2 Reggies, which are Reggie Drago and Reggie Eliki. I don't know if that's
Nice.
the right way to say that.
I need to look this up. I guess I was under a rock when this direct happened. When did this happen?
It was like I didn't see a lot of coverage about it. Probably rightly, because most people's social media feeds right now are not so focused on like pop culture and
Yeah.
but they kind of just ninja dropped it and like didn't say
Okay.
anything. But yeah.
I'll probably watch it after this. We'll probably have a more intricate discussion on that. Well, I'm sure we're talking about the Pokemon expansion, so I'm sure
Yeah,
we'll talk
when
about
that
that
comes out, we'll
more in
play it.
depth.
We'll give a review for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
How are you? How are you? What's going on in your life? That was all that was going
Um.
on with me.
So shortly after we recorded, or I think a few days after we recorded the last episode of Desk Pop, I had gone to the march in Houston.
Mhm.
It was really it was really it was kind of terrifying at first. I had never really gone to any protests or
Yeah.
anything of that sort before. But I over time got a bit more comfortable. Everyone was wearing masks, which was like
Yeah.
that was great. Um, I guess like it people who care for other people wear masks, so
Yeah.
that was great. Um, things got a little spooky as we got closer to City Hall, like maybe around 5 o'clock. And so I left at maybe around 5:30, and it seems like shortly afterwards things got a little hectic. But overall, I'm glad that I went. So I'll definitely be keeping an eye out for events like that in the future. I got my first callback. I got 2 callbacks in the same week. One for an internship, and one for a full job.
Full job.
So I have a full job. It's not like this one's not an internship.
Yeah.
It's like a kid when he gets like a tricycle, but it only has 2 wheels. And I'm like, wow, it's a full bike. Wow, look at this. So hopefully the interview goes well. That should be happening in a few days. And then the internship, I had seen the email and it said, hey, please follow up. I haven't heard from you. And apparently I had gotten the internship offer like 5 days ago.
Oh,
and
no.
So I replied to the email today, and hopefully it's not too late, because no matter what, I'd like to do the internship.
Well,
I'll keep my fingers crossed. It's like the one time my eyes were like off my smartphone.
Yeah.
And I get an internship email, like, dang it.
Yeah.
I've used the money I've saved from not paying for gas for the last several months to get a house cleaning service to come once a month. So somebody came over and cleaned my home.
I was gonna say, I see no plates or garbage behind you in the frame.
Yeah, it's great. Everything's neat and organized and wonderful, and I feel so good and refreshed having just a clean space to fuck up all over again.
Nice.
So we talked about Paper Mario a while back,
and
so we were engaging with the Paper Mario subreddit, and I found someone who made Paper Mario characters.
Oh, nice.
So I commissioned this Mario with a hammer, and it is made entirely out of paper. I'll send images to you, so you, like later, after we record, because I don't want to do that now.
Okay.
But if you could see the paper
texture.
Yeah.
I do.
It looks really good, like up close.
That looks cool, yeah.
It looks so pleasing.
Are you gonna hang that or something?
Yeah, it's hanging on the wall up there, but I took it down so I could show you.
Gotcha.
But it's made by, I wrote it down, Paper Power Ups on Instagram, and
nice.
So I really appreciated it. It's very high quality. The package that it came in was very nice, and the guy was like, I paid a little extra to get a cardboard backing to it, so it's very cool. He takes custom requests. Very positive experience. Very glad I did it. I might get more.
Nice.
So shout out to them. And the very last thing I'll say, because my updates are always really long, because I'm a long-winded person, is J.K. Rowling is at it again. And if anybody's curious, if anyone's curious as to what, you could check her Twitter feed. I'm sure she's not taking it down anytime soon. But just transphobic rhetoric, and the whole internet's going off on her now. And the actress who played Cho Chang in the Harry Potter movies had done this very loud and long rant about how problematic J.K. Rowling is.
Yeah.
And apparently it's an old rant, but I just now saw it today, and I highly recommend people check it out. It's really fun. It's true. It's all true.
It's all true. Allegedly.
But it's like, it's so good. It's so good that like so many people are just like, shut it, Grandma. Stop ruining Harry Potter.
Yeah. Well, it's even like from like a gay perspective, like there's a lot of like queer people who identify with like Harry Potter characters, and like the whole like, oh, like, you know, Harry Potter didn't have to live in a closet, like, you know, there's that whole like parallel or whatever. So it's even more disappointing to see that like we can't just like have this and like, oh, this is a really nice property for like, the
Yeah.
LGBT community to enjoy. It's she's whether she whether her intention is to be hateful or not, she is being hateful, and like people are rightfully sick of it. But it's one of those situations, again, we've talked about in the past, of like, how do you separate someone's work, that kind of like Harry Potter has kind of
Yeah.
transcended J.K. Rowling. It's kind of grown apart from her, but she still is the writer. She still is the author. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
how do you separate that? What do you do?
Yeah, it's really interesting to see, and it's just like it's the only it's one of the instances, like George Lucas isn't very active anymore. Like you don't see these creators of these massive franchises continue to say that, like they usually drop off the face of the earth once they hit the peak of popularity, but J.K. Rowling is just still very active, and I've never really seen that
I think
before of
if
like,
George Lucas was out there being transphobic, it would be a bigger, like, it would be in the news just as much as J.K. Rowling. I think it's just the fact that he's not a piece of
well,
trash
that's what I'm
garbage.
saying. Like
Like,
J.K.
he's
Rowling is like the
yeah,
only big creator that is like continually just
yeah,
out there running around and
yeah,
potentially risking the. I think Harry Potter will always be around, but I think
yeah.
what people think of when they think of Harry Potter will be affected by all of her words. And
Yeah.
anyways,
It reminds me
it's
of
just
that Adam Ellis comic. Have you seen that, where she's like desperately tweeting stuff? I'll put it in the I'll like put the image up, but it's really funny. She's like tweeting all these like ridiculous things about Harry Potter characters, and like the police are like trying to take her phone away, and she's like, "No." I don't know. It's really funny, but she's a piece of human garbage. So.
all right. Well, that's our. So fuck you, J.K. Rowling.
Fuck you.
Um, and I guess we'll hop
Yeah.
on along, take the old heel toe express over to our first. I'm jogging over to our first topic, which is the Pokemon the Pokemon shorts. I was expecting you to take the baton on that one, but that's okay. It's like any second now, Brian will introduce the Pokemon shorts. So I'm just no.
I wasn't
I'll do
sure
it. It's okay.
what the jogging
Here,
thing was
take it.
about. I was like,
Yeah.
okay.
No, my body just got uncomfortable, and I just
Okay.
entered a fight or flight, and it just started to do something.
Okay, well, we're talking about the
Yeah. It's another day of sun.
Okay, we're
Hello?
talking about the Pokemon Looney
Hello?
Tunes segment. It's the it's not explicitly Looney Tunes, but it's very Western cartoon inspired. It's Scraggy, I think, is the Pokemon, and
Yeah,
then
it's
Mimikyu.
Scraggy and Mimikyu, yeah.
Yeah, which is kind of disappointing to me off the bat, because I'm like, okay, those aren't two Pokemon that I particularly care about anyway. But I was like, oh well, I like Pokemon media. But yeah, what were your thoughts? It was interesting.
So from what I could tell, this animated segment was exclusive to like a Japanese Pokemon YouTube channel that posts a lot of
Yeah, which is weird because it didn't have any dialogue.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's just weird how that like the internet exists, so we would have found it anyways. But the intended audience, like,
You can't hide it from
wasn't.
us,
You can't
Pokemon.
hide it. We saw what you did.
We found it.
Um,
We know what you did this summer.
but that was going to be exclusively for that Japanese channel, and
Yeah.
which is like, man, they have a bunch of cool stuff on there. I started clicking on other videos, and there's like this animated Psyduck wearing a gold chain and sunglasses. It's a music video, and he's floating in a pool, and he's just walking around, and it's hashtag aesthetic. And I was like,
Okay.
where has this channel been? Why don't we have stuff like
Yeah,
this?
yeah.
That's not fair. No one's allowed to have any exclusive things unless it's just in the US. Anyways, so that was great. I really liked the aesthetic they went for, is like classic Western cartoons. they keep that style throughout it, which I really appreciate. I really like when I love when they explore universes in different ways and styles, and you get to see like the perspective of this Scraggy getting on a train, and it's this different animation style, so you see different interpretations and familiar things. I love things like that, so that was great. Um, I also think it's cool how other Pokemon are getting the spotlight, like Scraggy, and I know Mimikyu is pretty popular now.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm also curious how much the favorite Pokemon poll that Google did plays into the production of animated shorts like this. Like if
I don't
they are
know. I think
conscious of
it's
how popular.
incidental because I feel like Mimikyu is just like a cute like that's like the Jerry, like it's like the cute mouse, and then Scraggy just happens to kind of have the body for like a good. Um, I get why they chose the characters, like the like whole I don't know what you would call the part of its body that's like a an oversized sweatshirt. Like it just lends itself a lot to that comedy, and so I feel like that was a pretty obvious choice. Like I could see why they did that. I don't like Scraggy. It's not my favorite Pokemon. So
Um,
do a
but
Dunsparce one, you cowards.
they already have the Dunsparce gift though.
Yeah, but I need more. I need more Dunsparce content.
But but it just made me think of how likely it is that they are considering like, oh, this scored really highly in the poll. Should we use this when they're doing that? Or because
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure
because
it's a consideration.
because I definitely think there are a lot of Pokemon now, so it's definitely when you choose one, it's way more of a deliberate decision now than it would have been earlier when there were fewer Pokemon. Because now they're like
Sure.
looking through this catalog of all these,
I'd also
um,
argue though that they might choose to highlight less popular Pokemon in an attempt to turn them more popular. If that makes
yeah,
sense. Like,
but then the poll would still be affecting that because they would know which
sure,
ones are less
sure,
popular.
yeah, but I'm just saying like maybe they don't always choose like the most
Yeah,
popular thing. Maybe they deliberately go out of their way to make an unexpected choice. You know?
yeah, fair. I've never seen Scraggy before. That Scraggy was the main one that I was like, I've never seen any media with Scraggy.
Yeah,
I know he's in the anime a few times, but
yeah.
um, anywho, the last thought I had was it's cute and I'd like more. It wasn't very long, and I I really liked seeing that style. And maybe they'll make it a series, but who knows? Pokemon spoils us with these animated shorts, so
Yeah, my thoughts are like I thought it was cute. I like them exploring different things, but I want to see them continue exploring rather than like stop on this and make this like a series. Like, and maybe that's because I don't especially like older Western cartoons. I'm not a fan of Tom and Jerry. I'm not a fan of like the Sylvester and Tweety runaround stuff. I do like some Looney Tunes things, but I just it's very tired to me. I'm like it's very like I'm staring at a wall, like watching paint dry. I know what's happening. Like there's no surprises. I don't know. Maybe I just hate everything.
that's my job, so you can't. Yeah, it gets an 8 out of 10.
I thought it was cute. Yeah.
That wasn't my real score. I was just being sarcastic.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a meme because I give everything an 8 out of 10. So like regardless of my thoughts, it's always anyways. Twilight Wings episode 5 is the other latest Pokemon
Yeah.
animated short, and this one's called The Assistant.
Yeah.
And I really liked this one. Do you have do you want to take the lead on this, or what?
Yeah. Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
So just a quick aside, real quick. We didn't talk about episode 4. I did watch that as well. It was cute. I'd recommend it. It's about Nessa, the water type gym leader. Um, it must have just been in a week that we had other things we wanted to talk about though. But yeah, episode 5. It's about Oleana. She's the vice president, the assistant to Chairman Rose. Yeah, it was very interesting. I feel like this one to me was a little bit of a letdown in the sense that like the other ones have shown they all pick a character in the series to highlight, which I think is cool.
Yeah.
You see a different perspective of the Pokemon world through the eyes of someone else. But this one in particular, I didn't feel like there was anything like there wasn't a twist or any cool like character development. It just was kind of like, yeah, she's who I thought she
It seemed like a
was.
montage. Yeah.
Sure, I'm like, yeah, she's like a hardworking person, and that's cool, and that's that's I guess why Chairman Rose likes her. I don't. That was kind of like one of those moments where he's like looking at her in adoration in the short, but I don't know. It was good. It was cute. What'd you think of it?
Uh, I really liked it. I think at the very beginning, I wrote down I'm constantly reminded of how great these character designs are,
Yeah,
because I think they knock it out of the park with these character designs, especially in these latest games.
yeah,
And Miss Oleana is my favorite character design in these latest games.
interesting.
So having a short all about her was really nice to
Yeah,
see, and I also really like seeing all the Pokemon in the background just doing different jobs, and
mm,
seeing like a Wobbuffet carrying files in their lab or
mm-hmm.
whatever is really appealing. There's a Galarian Mr. Mime street performer in the background, which made me like the Galarian Mr. Mime a lot more.
Yeah,
Or is it Mr. Rhyme?
that was Mr. Rhyme.
That was Mr. Rhyme. Yeah, so Mr. Rhyme. I didn't like Mr. Rhyme's character design, but this made me like it a bit more, seeing it actually move in a way that, oh, it's tap dancing. Like I could see that now, instead of it just running at you down a dark alley trying to murder you.
I don't like Mr. Rhyme, but I like what he represents and the fact that there is hope that
He
older
represents
Pokemon.
hope.
He represents hope to me. He represents that even though a Pokemon could have no evolutions in a future game, they could have a new form and a new evolution. Like I think that's really great.
Yeah.
I know Mr. Mime Jr. was a thing, but I don't count the baby Pokemon explicitly as evolutions. They're kind of like um, they almost feel like an afterthought in a lot of ways. Like, oh well, we didn't
Yeah.
design a first stage, so here's one. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Understandable. Halfway through the animated special, the music just decides to go off.
yeah,
The music was really good. I really enjoyed that part. It kind of breaks into a montage of her doing various research on Dynamaxing and Gigantamaxing.
yeah.
So a common occurrence through all these episodes, I believe, Chairman Rose appears in all of them. But
I'm
the
not
taxi
certain
guy,
about that, but the taxi guy
the
100%
taxi
is.
guy has appeared in every single one of them.
Yeah,
And I'm like paper strung across the background with the string connecting everything. Like, this taxi guy is going to get an exclusive short or something.
he'll probably
Uh,
get the last one. Maybe maybe they'll do the last
yeah,
Twilight Wings about him.
because it's a choice. It's definitely a choice to have him in every single one of them.
It's a
Uh,
choice.
it's a choice. They're approaching it with, okay, so when can the taxi guy show up? When can he be in here? So yeah, I'm obsessed with this taxi guy. We're gonna learn his story soon.
He's a
The kid's drawing
cold-blooded
us.
killer.
He's up to some shit. The kid's drawing makes another appearance from
Yeah,
the first short,
yeah.
which I thought was a nice story loop of
Mhm.
like, oh, it's come full circle. Like, we see this drawing again. And then the last thing I wrote was, I don't know why I always feel like I'm being starved of Pokemon media, because they're constantly pumping out promo materials like Twilight Wings, Pokemon Origins, Pokemon Generations, and then the Mystery Dungeon animated shorts.
You feel
Um,
like you're starved for content?
yeah, like I always enter this when new Pokemon games come out, or I'm thinking about like I see things about the anime with like Ash Ketchum and stuff. I'm like, man, there's not a lot other than that anime. And then I'll like rediscover all of these other animated, like these limited series that they've released before, and I'm like, oh,
Mm,
there's a lot of animated content in the Pokemon universe that
yeah.
I keep forgetting about, and it's all really high quality and it's really great. Um, so props to Pokemon for continuing that, because there's not a like Nintendo's other properties. They don't supplement very often between releases with animated content like this.
Yeah, I do
Like,
think that there is something special about these because I don't really watch the Pokemon anime anymore. Um, it it's kind of, I don't
Yeah, I
know.
don't either. That's why I really like all the series I mentioned before, because they're all
Yeah,
like separate and they're all their own thing.
and
And
they're like, for the most part, they're shorter, and so it's less of an investment to watch a 5 minute Twilight Wings than it is to watch a, I don't know, a 20-minute episode of the show. I don't really know how long they are anymore. But it's kind of like, oh, this is nice to watch, and it's like a different perspective, and it's not Ash. Uh, like,
yeah, it's more authentic too. Like they
yeah,
always try to go
it's very world
more.
building.
Yeah, they try to make it more about the games as
Mhm.
opposed to some fan self-insert character like Ash, who I'm the first to discover blank. Let me learn
Yeah.
a valuable lesson and never win a championship.
He won.
Well, until very recently, yeah.
It's like past year.
You know,
Yeah.
you know what they say: if it doesn't work the first 8 or 10 times, keep trying.
uh yeah. I don't know. I think Ash as a character is just not exciting now that, like, it's weird because like that's a character that you and I as kids grew up watching, and now we're adults and he's still a child. You know what I mean? It's very like,
Sure.
yeah, like, I don't know,
Well,
it's weird, I
well,
guess.
I also think that his and let's really dissect this like anime that's like this is like deliberately made for children.
Yes, obviously.
But Ash's character motivation is very surface level,
Yeah.
whereas a lot of the main protagonists of all these animated shorts, their goals are a lot more relatable, but then also more mature than Ash's. Like
Sure.
which I'm horrible with names, but uh the ground gym leader, the fighting type,
Oh yeah,
training
B.
with the Machamps,
B.
like yeah. So they were like they lose and they're obsessed with winning, so they're training and they're pushing themselves really hard to be better,
Yeah.
and then they get like that goal seems way more interesting to watch in a very small setting than Ash just dicking around in whatever town he's in,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Oh, the local people are dying. Ash needs to save them with the latest Pokemon he caught." To
Yeah, I mean,
I don't
and
know.
unlike the anime, like the Twilight Wings are good because you see these motivations, and like the B one was probably the best one, the one with the fighting gym leader.
Yeah, that was
But
probably my favorite. Yeah.
that was one of the best character development type Twilight Wings we've seen. Ash is a character though in the anime. It's like there's always the same cycle of generation, and is this generation 8 now we're in? Like, there's
Yeah.
always like he gets a starter, he befriends Pokemon that are not like, that maybe don't want to be, they're outcasts, and then he ends up with like a pseudo legendary, and like there's always this like this kind of format that it has to follow, and he always has a companion, and maybe it's two or three companions, but there's always a companion, and he's always trying to be a gym leader, or he's always trying to beat the gym leader. It's not be a gym leader, but it's always like great. Like I think of the Sun
It
and Moon, they do this weird like uh Pokemon Ranger type thing where they're like almost like the, what do you call it, like emergency services kind of. Like,
oh yeah.
it's interesting, but yeah.
I'm still surprised that I think there might have been one or two attempts in the past, but they didn't take off. But I'm surprised that Pokemon, the series, has gone on this long without having a separate Pokemon series run concurrently with it.
What do you mean?
Because, so, like SpongeBob, right? SpongeBob has existed for a long time, and they're just now releasing this spin off that's going to exist concurrently with the current series. So there will just be
Oh,
two SpongeBob shows happening at the same time,
yeah, yeah,
And a lot of other shows kind of do that. They have spin-offs and whatnot. But Pokemon, it's just this one show that's still happening, and there's not like another Pokemon show that's on. Like there's 4 Walking Dead shows on the air, I think.
yeah.
Um, And it's just weird that Pokemon is one of those things where we only have one show that's happening right now, and I feel like if it was an American show, we'd already have like 8 shows running alongside each other.
Yeah, well, they always try and do like anthology things. They always try and
Yeah.
do like it's always shorts. It's never like a full fledged like other
Mm-hmm.
show.
It's just
Um,
weird to me that they've never tried to do that before,
yeah,
or it's never been successful because I think I'm not 100% confident on it, but I think that they
I
tried
don't
to get a
think.
mystery dungeon show started
Did
and it
they?
didn't
Hmm.
it didn't take off. But yeah, that's just strange to me because
Yeah,
I like all of these limited things. I'm just curious as to why they've never just jumped the gun and done like a separate full-fledged show.
I agree. I think the thing is like, who do you make it about? I think like it would be cool if there was one maybe about like Leon from this generation or someone that like has a lot going on. You know what I mean? Maybe that would be
Sure.
cool. Um, yeah, I don't know. I
Yeah, because I
also
feel
want
like
another Pokemon Snap.
yeah, did you ask Santa?
I did.
Have you got the Santas and replies? Did you get a reply in
He
the
left
mail
me
from
on
Santa?
red. He left me on red.
Wow.
He just sent a letter
Damn.
back and it said red. No,
It says I read your letter,
I read your letter.
Santa.
Thank you.
No, thank
Yeah,
you. It just I read your letter, period. I know what you did last summer,
I do.
Santa.
Uh, yeah, no, I feel like it is kind of a missed opportunity, but I feel like we know it's not always we know Pokemon is wrapped up in so many different like so many people have their hands in the pot. You know what I mean? Like Game Freak, Pokemon, Nintendo, that I feel like things don't always happen as they should. Like in a normal maybe property, like a normal IP where some people are like, wow, this is very popular. Let's create things for it. And like they're still very like, no, it has to be very controlled and like we wanna we want to be able to have the same format for the games and the same format for the anime. And so I feel like it's not necessarily surprising that they're not taking risks in that way.
Yeah, it's just looking at like the constant amount of content. But yeah, I'm sure that's the reason. Just all the different
It's just a
all the different
tightly
people who have to
controlled.
green light things,
Yeah.
and sure, yeah, it makes sense. I wish Nintendo did this with their other properties too,
Yeah.
because that maybe this Mario movie will be the start of a plethora of new Nintendo media that we can all
The
um,
Nintendo verse.
yeah, rapidly consume. That makes I cringe so hard when people are like, "Oh, they're gonna make a Smash Brothers movie." It's like it took so long for them to make a Mario movie, and do you
Yeah.
think the same studio's gonna make all of the Nintendo movies? And if they don't, then they're all gonna have to collaborate together to make a Smash Brothers movie about what? What reason does Yoshi have
It'll
to
follow the
fight?
same logic as the Smash Brothers games where it's like some evil force has taken over everyone and Kirby has to save them. Like he unfreezes his friends and then they fight a big bad and like
Man, imagine a Kirby movie.
yeah.
Like like I it
I would love that.
like
I used to love the show on Fox.
right
Is
back
it
at you.
4 Kids or whatever? I loved that show.
Yeah,
It was
because
good.
it's like a full length feature of Kirby not talking, or would they make Kirby talk? That would be even worse.
Has he ever talked?
I no,
He just says
I don't
baby
think
baby
so.
talk.
Yeah, he says hi.
Yeah. I don't think he
I
would
didn't know
talk.
Kirby was a boy either. I think Kirby is confirmed to be a boy. I think I looked it up a
Wow.
while back because
Why
I was
didn't you think he
confused.
was a boy? Because he's pink?
I didn't know. I didn't know what he
I'm
was.
just kidding. I've always just gendered him as a guy. I don't know. I'm just like, ah, it's
Yeah,
Kirby.
so have I, but I've never
Yeah.
seen any like definitive media, or I don't think it's ever been.
Did
I
you
don't think I've
ever?
ever seen a he pronoun on Kirby
Yeah.
before.
I
So,
think that might have
what
been
are Kirby's
implied.
pronouns?
I think that might have been implied in the show that I was talking about. I feel like that's in that show they talk about him as a male. I'm pretty sure. But also he's just like a pink blob that
Yeah,
we're impressing our own
Yeah, gender doesn't exist.
Our own gender, yeah.
He could be some strange gender from another planet that we can't even comprehend.
What? Something that's not male or female?
J.K. Rowling
J.K. Rowling's mad.
We pissed her off.
Ugh.
Yeah, J.K. Rowling's fuming somewhere right now just thinking about Kirby.
There's another thing about J.K. Rowling. I want to circle back to that.
Yeah, let's do it.
It pisses me off that she had the ability to make a character gay, and instead of doing that in the actual series, she has come out afterwards to claim that they are. And then as they continue making material with this character in it, they
allegedly with the partner that he was gay
yes
with.
They talk about him like having a bond as strong as a brother, and like, bitch, if you really are this,
and they were roommates.
Yeah, if you're really this gay rights queen with, you know, this, oh wow, brave writing a gay character, then you would actually write them as gay. Like, you wouldn't just say it afterwards. And it bothers me too when people say, there's this whole thing about like, I saw, maybe it was like a Tumblr post of people like, they never said Hermione was white. She could be black. You know, she's described as having like, you know, curly hair and brown hair. I'm like, that's also a fucking cop out. Like, that's you can't just not write in diversity and then claim that you have diverse cast like that.
And I'm pretty sure in the books it was specified that Hermione was white.
Was
like,
it?
I think
okay.
There was a line that was. I mean, even if she like, it doesn't. The actress who plays Hermione, it doesn't matter. It's the fact that J.K. Rowling has come out to say that it was calculated. That is annoying.
Yeah.
It is not the casting, because anybody could. You know, it doesn't. That doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But J.K. Rowling is just a slippery one.
She's trash.
That one. So again, fuck you, J.K. Rowling, in case you didn't hear us the first time. Or in case you're just tuning in.
Yeah. Hey, fuck you.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's absolute garbage.
She's not a force worth reckoning with. But you know what is, Brian?
Is it Space Force?
Space. As in Space Force.
Yeah.
So we both just watched, well, Brian, like, literally just watched the first season of Space Force. I watched it last week. We're going to talk about our thoughts, kind of crack this thing open and share what we think of this new Netflix exclusive workplace comedy from the creators of The Office and Steve Carell. Take it away, Brian.
Well, as someone who loves The Office and has middling opinions on Steve Carell, I was like, I know you had said you wanted to talk about it, so I was like, okay, let me give it a chance. Let me watch it. I watched the first episode. I texted you immediately. I actually had to pause in the middle of the first episode.
You were not a fan of the first episode.
I was like, I can't, like, does it get better after this? Like, and let me give you a quick aside too. I don't think, I hate when people say, like, and obviously this is not our conversation. This is just an observation about general stuff that goes on.
You're about to say something I agree with. I think I know exactly what you're about to say.
When people say, oh, as long as you can make it through this episode, or make it through an hour, or make it through, no.
Dude, it gets really good at season 3.
I want it to be good immediately. Like, why
You're
do I
watching
have
it
to
for
wait?
entertainment. Why am I not entertained yet?
Why do I have to get through this like barrier to entry to be able to enjoy it later? Like, I don't know.
That happens with a lot of anime. Like when someone's suggesting something, they're just like, yeah, just watch like if you watch like the first 20 episodes, then it gets really good.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah.
That's not what you said either. I just was like, hey, does it get better? Because I was not a fan of the first episode.
Yeah.
Turns out, second episode, it was better. And actually, towards the end of the series, towards the end of the season, I guess I should say, I actually found myself like actually finding things humorous and like actually enjoying the last couple episodes. However, what I will say, the first episode, I had all these things in my mind that I was like, when you dislike watching something and I like have to write them down to get them out of my brain, like all these thoughts I wrote down. it feels like an SNL sketch that is going on too long, uh, especially just showcasing the cast. I do not feel like they had to introduce every character in the first episode. I think that was bad, especially some that don't come back until like episode 5 or like.
Yeah, there were a couple that were just kind of shoehorned in the intro, and it was a
Yes.
little like Ben Schwartz's character
Yes.
works in microscopic doses.
Yes.
And his appearance in that first episode it felt very out of place.
Yep. They really shoehorned as many of the cast as they could in that first episode to showcase like this is the talent we have, and I did not like that. I think the whole premise of the show too, and you can jump in whenever you want. These are just my rapid thoughts in the first episode. Sure. The whole premise of the show, trying to be a commentary on how crazy our real life is kind of like, all right, but now I want to see you like do something with that or take it a step further. And the first episode was not that. The first episode
it definitely seems like they went for this like political commentary approach in the beginning, and then at like the very end of season 1 it seems to have hit an independent arc that is its own thing.
Yeah, which I think became much more successful.
Yeah, I think it gets really weird because we're getting to a point where our everyday world seems like a made-up parody in itself, so it's hard to parody something that's so sporadic right now. And every time they try to do that, I'm just like, that's not funny because it just sounds like a real thing.
Well, and it just
doesn't.
There were no new observations. That was one of my biggest critiques of the first episode. I'm like, okay, I get the premise now. Like, I get the premise from the title. You don't have to introduce me to the whole first episode of like, yes, I get the setup. Like, yes, okay. It just felt very like paint by numbers comedy, if that makes sense. Like, this is what we are doing. This is a funny thing. The tone was weird. I felt like it was a little dry. That gets a little better later.
It has its own type of humor, and it kind of finds its voice again towards the. I think it really hits a full stride and gets into the groove of things at the end of the series.
Yes, I would agree.
But also, this was kind of sold to people when it was in production as, oh, Steve Carell's involved. This is made by a lot of the same people who worked on The Office. So I was expecting like a workplace mockumentary, and it definitely wasn't that.
Yeah.
Which I'm happy and sad for, because I feel like that format is kind of played out now.
I agree. I didn't want to see that, but at the same time, I wanted to see not this.
I was not expecting this format, and so they take a dramedy approach.
Yes, it's very dramedy. Yes.
And the drama you don't really care for any of the characters for quite a while, so the drama aspect of it doesn't work at all until like the very end, when you kind of start to care about some of the people. This show is just the pinnacle of what we were discussing before. I'm sure season 2 will be a lot better because you can see the transition between season 1. Because the last episode of season 1, comparing that to like the first episode, which might not be fair because the first episode has more of a responsibility to establish the exposition.
I've seen a lot of TV shows, and I've seen a lot of first episodes where they don't have to hold your hand like a little baby. Like, they're like, oh, like, here's the story, like, we'll get you caught up as we're going along. This one was like, here is the story, this is it, do not like keep watching. Like, and it felt like in the first episode, to that detriment, like every scene was so short feeling that it just felt very disjointed, and like it felt very much like, here's our cast, make sure you look at them, we're on like a Disney World ride, we're passing everything, this is what you'll see later. Lisa Kudrow's in it, she's in jail, I guess. Why? I mean, I guess that's supposed to be a joke.
Did they ever explain why she's in jail?
I think it's supposed to be a joke. They don't ever explain it.
Okay, because
I think it's poor writing to do that.
By like the third episode, I was I watched it with Dana, and I was like, did we miss the part where they explain why she was in jail, or did
Yeah.
that just happen?
The first
Okay,
episode,
I'm glad to know I'm not crazy.
I was trying to pay attention so much that I was like, it skips from them, like, she's in bed with him, and there she's like with Steve Carell, Lisa Kudrow and Steve Carell are in bed, and she's like, "Hey, like it's gonna be okay. Like, do you think you'll be all right?" And he's like, "Yeah." And then it does a time skip, and she's in jail, and I was like, "Did I just miss a whole scene? Like, was I like?" So I had to rewind it, and I was like, "No, I didn't."
Okay, I'm
Like,
glad to know I didn't miss. I didn't
and
miss
and in
that.
the
Okay,
entire season they don't mention it, which I get it on
good
some
for them.
level. I don't think that's funny. If they had revealed at the very end, like the end of this season, something like, maybe that I would have cut a little bit of slack. Like, okay, it was supposed to be an overarching joke for the season, but like, is it supposed to be a setup for season two? Like, then why introduce it in episode one? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Uh, I feel like they did find a groove later. Uh,
One of my favorite bits in this, and it's unfortunate with the timing of the show launching, because Fred Willard, the actor who played
yeah,
Steve Carell's
yeah,
father, just passed away like
yeah,
shortly before the show. So it was very um, when certain actors pass away, obviously I don't know them personally, so it kind of I
what?
don't I don't feel I don't feel as sad as maybe other people do when things like that
Yeah.
happen. But that one definitely hurt a little bit. I really liked
Mm.
his comedy, and I really like his roles are always very like, especially in like his later stuff. It's always very subtle, and it's always like in the background,
Yeah.
and very short doses. And there's this one scene where he's on the phone with somebody, and in the background his wife is getting chest compressions from like a nurse,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Oh, I gotta go, there's something happening right now," and he's
Yeah.
totally fine. Anyways, that's like
I
the funniest
yeah.
joke in the series, and it's like a very 2 second aside, and it's
I
by
had I had those moments where
not a main character.
I can't point them out specifically, but I remember hearing a line of dialogue and I would like, "Oh, that is actually funny." Like, but then it would go back to kind of the Steve Carell trying to be like it just, something felt off about the tone. I feel like the character of there were characters that felt extraneous, like were unneeded for the story, and I felt like um uh Fred Willard, the guy you're just talking about,
Yeah,
I feel like his character wasn't really needed, and
yeah, sure, that was like a side gag, and it didn't
it
really
it
do anything
just,
to the story,
yeah,
really.
and I feel like, okay, I'm watching Space Force. I know it's supposed to be about the character Steve Carell is portraying, so that's why they are important to him, these people, but it just, I wanted more of like when they did the whole bit with the monkey and the dog, and like that was kind of funny. I was like, oh, this is getting better. Like, there's at least some jokes. I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
and but then they would cut back to this like kind of slice of life drama stuff, and it was like, this is just not it. Like, this is not, the show is kind of, the whole daughter, I hated. Let me tell you, up until the last episode, where I felt like, okay, I can kind of feel like I'm fine with Lisa Kudrow and the daughter. Like, I don't
yeah,
dislike them anymore, but the entire season I disliked them until the last episode. And even in the last episode, when the fucking daughter's like, "Oh, I made a bad decision, Dad." I'm not gonna spoil it, but it was just like, ugh, I'm like, I don't yell at the TV because I'm not a crazy person, but man, I wanted
sure.
to. I was just so annoyed with that character and her decisions, and then she's mad at people. I'm like, I get it, girl. Your life is hard, like, cool. Uh, why are you the way you are? Like, there's no excuse. Like,
One of my favorite one of my favorite parts about this show is that in between all of the, like, because everything's kind of sandwiched between haha, how topical, look at this joke, da,
yeah,
da, 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 like, our president's crazy, um like, there's those jokes, and then there's like occasionally like really clever jokes,
yeah,
um but then also there are these like like real world observations about the inner workings of how something like a space force would work
Yeah.
that I actually find really interesting. Like there's like a court hearing talking about funding
Yeah.
for it, and it's kind of a there are some jokes in there, but he's kind of arguing for more government funding for Space Force and
Yeah.
justifying purchases and stuff. And I thought it was really insightful and interesting of him talking about, yeah, it's super expensive to give an astronaut an orange, but psychologically, like, they might need that orange, and it's important for us to remind them of Earth when they're up there, and blah blah blah. I thought that was kind of interesting, and that gave me some food for thought. No pun intended. And another interesting observation that occurred to me was that, like, the key to space combat, if you're outside of a ship, like on the moon, is penetrating the other person's suit. So things like knives are like um,
Yeah.
way more important in space combat, and they're like talking about they do all these like stupid they all have balloons on them,
Yeah.
and they're practicing fighting each other and stuff, which is like that was kind of a silly joke that was overplayed. But the concept itself, it never occurred to me that, like, yeah, like on Earth, like guns, like, yeah, it's bad because it pierces the skin or whatever, and blah blah blah. But you could still kind of survive a general gun wound if it's shot in like a certain spot. But if you're in space, they just need to hit somewhere on your suit, and
Yeah.
if you get a hole in your suit, you're fucked, and you're
Yeah.
like essentially dead.
I'd
Unless you
argue, like, I have never been in a spacesuit, but I would argue that they are probably pretty durable. So it would be
well,
very hard
sure,
to, like, I get where what the story is going and like why they do certain things, but I'm like, I feel like in actuality they're probably really reinforced to make sure that doesn't happen.
maybe who knows.
It's just a
Because
suit
like,
of paper.
are they making suits like, oh, we got to make sure if someone puts a knife against this thing, it
Well,
won't tear.
I don't think they think in that way, but I think they think like, okay, if they're making a repair to the space station and there's a jagged piece of metal sticking out, like what if it accidentally gets caught and then like, you know what I mean? They have to kind of
Sure.
like, so I, not to discredit what you're saying, I think yes, there are some good observations that they make in terms of like questions that they pose of like how something would work, but it feels like there's one good writer in that room and they're like really trying their best to like get good quips out and good jokes and good observations, and there's like a just a room full of other people that really love like Parks and Rec and like, oh yeah, like let me like this joke is like, oh yeah, like okay.
I understand what you're saying, but I also really like Parks and Rec. So
I do too, but that's the thing is like I like Parks and Rec for what it is. I don't want to see, that's why I don't want to see another Office. Like I really like The Office, the American version. Sorry, I don't know.
fuck you, J.K. Rowling.
Fuck you, J.K. Rowling. Your whole country. uh, no, I just feel like uh, there's some sort of charm that you can't repackage. Sure, you can do a different show and like, try and do a different, like The Office and Parks and Rec are different. You know what I mean? That they're tonally
Yeah,
different. There's, different, I would argue different jokes.
it's just the same. It's the same format, different
Sure. Yeah.
style. It's the
There's
same
some,
genre. It's a
there's some
mockumentary.
commonality there. And I would have been interested to see like a version of this that maybe worked in a different way but wasn't, I think the drama part really doesn't get it. Like I think that's the part that really,
That's
the
the part that
tone is
it
weird.
takes a long time to stick the landing, because
Yeah.
it's hard to relate to these characters over time when one of them is almost a consistent joke, that being Steve Carell.
Yeah.
We learn things about Steve Carell's personal life in the show in very small bursts, and the rest of it is him kind of playing a comedic role of like, I'm just fulfilling the
A
prerequisites for this joke
buffoon.
to work.
A buffoon.
Like, yeah, like let me just
Yeah.
say a joke here, or let me be the butt of the joke over here. But
And I feel like we've
yeah,
seen him like he's played a role. He played Michael Scott in The Office, and he is that character where he is like this idiot that people make fun of, but at the same time, he has these heartfelt moments, and it's not necessarily a drama. You know what I mean? So like you can
yeah,
identify with the character, but This one, it was like, yeah, when they're in the court and they're doing the proceeding about the budget, the tone was just like, I liked that. That was one good moment because I think it was like, okay, they didn't make a lot of jokes. They just were like, okay, this is a sincere moment. But there's too much of that peppered throughout this entire show. Like it's too trying to be sincere, but not like some things are jokes, but some things are not.
Yeah, I
And
kind of, or go ahead.
no, you can continue.
I just say like I'd kind of fall back to what I said before. Like I think that as far as first seasons go, this definitely had a really ugly, rocky start. But I definitely think it's going to take off by season 2 if anyone wants to hold on until then.
I think a lot of people have seen it. Like I think it was trending. It was number one on Netflix. A lot of people will have seen this.
Yeah.
I don't know if it will have as much magnetic success uh, as other shows, but I think it's interesting too. Like you have Steve Carell from The Office, and you have Lisa Kudrow from Friends, and those are like two. What's the word? Like two titans of television, I guess.
Well,
Like,
you also have Ben Schwartz from Parks and Rec.
yeah. But like you have these like very calculated like casting decisions, but then I feel like Steve Carell is like he's probably doing his best, and it just maybe it's the writing that isn't the best, or maybe it's editing that isn't the best, but I know what he can do, and he is funny to me. So why is he not funny to me here? Like, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get it. He's definitely doing something different in this show that I haven't seen him do in any of the other shows he's appeared in.
Sure.
And especially in a lot of the comedies that he's been in, he's never played like he's doing like a specific voice and is having this character has a specific voice and mannerisms that I've never really seen him go that in depth for in a comedy.
Yeah.
Which is weird. So I think that this is just kind of like an experiment for him. Yeah. I know he's like one of the producers for it. So I feel like it's like Steve Carell and Greg Daniels, I think. Greg Daniels is a writer for The Office or Parks and he's a writer for something comedy related. So I feel like this is just a playground or like a jumping point for him to just experiment and try something different. Maybe who knows? Maybe
it's so like I still like it, this is so fresh in my mind, but it just maybe it's the fact that the whole premise is set up on this like kind of political commentary, like that's the whole like the title of the show is a wing of our military that was created, like, and it's a joke, you know what I mean? And
yeah,
so it's this political commentary and it's peppered throughout the show, but they don't ever like, and I don't really like political things like in terms of like my entertainment, but they never take it anywhere. They never like
they
try
play
and
it safe.
Push it. They just play it so safe that it feels like, I don't know, bland in some ways. And then
yeah, no, I agree. They definitely play because the premise is a parody of a tweet that happened like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And so they're really late to the arrival here on the execution of it. But like when they announced the show was in production, the U.S. Space Force did not exist yet. And now it is an actual branch of the military. It is a thing now. So it is a lot less impactful now. And seeing the
like had this never been a real established wing of the military, had this just remained
it would be a little
joke,
bit more entertaining.
Sure.
Yeah. But yeah, they definitely play it safe and it's super obvious. I think
they don't want to upset anyone.
I think political commentary, especially in a comedy standpoint, is usually pretty cringy for me because they usually go for the low hanging fruit.
Yep.
It's very difficult for political humor to ever go for anything clever or genuinely something someone put thought into.
But
looking at things like South Park, I think sometimes there are certain episodes of South Park where they definitely get it wrong, but I think they hit a good balance of something hitting political humor that you could definitely tell it is calculated. People, and they establish a side, you know, because Space Force, every political joke that they make is something that's like, oh, see, this will be funny for both sides. And jokes
Yeah.
like that aren't funny because political humor is always at something's expense. You
Right.
can't.
You can't have
know?
safe political humor.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
You in one sentence you said what I just using 10,000 words. Yes, you can't have safe political humor.
Yeah.
Can't do it. It's not possible. When you do, you get this, and it's not funny.
And I thought it was going to be maybe like too liberal in a sense, like too much of a liberal commentary when I first like heard about the show and like, you know, started.
That's what I was worried about. Yeah, I was expecting it to be very.
You know, just because I am that doesn't mean that's funny to me, or like, you know, dunking on people like, whoa, look, they're so stupid. Like, I don't think that's funny. And then the only time that I feel like they ever made a true stance about anything politically in this show is when they have the courtroom scene, actually, where they have
Flat Earther.
Not even the Flat Earther. I was actually going to say the young politician who's supposed to be Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Oh, yeah.
That's the only time that they ever like really make a statement, and it's even that is so bland and so safe. I'm like, if you caricature her, like, then do it. Like, you know, make it something. It just kind of is like, it felt like maybe a stand-in for her, but there's no real joke. It's just, oh, she's the young one. That's the joke. Like, okay.
Yeah. Well, I guess to wrap things up for our review of Space Force, would you recommend this, Brian?
Let's join Space Force. I don't know. This is maybe the first thing I maybe wouldn't recommend. I feel like it's hard for me to I can't recommend something that I have to tell someone, yeah, just get past the first episode. I can't do that. Like, if it piques your interest and you make it past the first episode, great. But that's kind of the thing. Like, if you listen to all of this review, then maybe no.
What I would say is I would recommend it, or I would recommend having it on in the background while you do something else, because I think that this show definitely has its moments, and I think the peaks definitely outweigh the valleys of the show. But if you're watching it, like if you are sitting down by yourself doing nothing but watch that show, it might not be as fun of an experience. So you might just want it as idle background noise, so you can occasionally look over when something interesting or funny happens. So those are my thoughts on it.
I think I will watch the second season though.
Same.
I'll give it a chance, because I feel like I gave this one a chance. I ended up liking it at the end. Let me see what the first episode of season 2 is like. Let me give that a chance. Maybe they'll hit, maybe the stride that they hit in the middle of the season, they will have continued. I don't know.
Okay. What are your thoughts on Space Force? Let us know by reaching out to us at deskpopcast on all social media platforms, or deskpopcast@gmail.com. You can also reach out with your thoughts on the rest of this episode, or ideas for topics we can cover for future episodes.
Yeah, or tell us which one of us is your favorite.
Yeah. Be sure to DM it to us. Yeah. We don't want everyone feeling bad for Brian when, you know, all the public outreach is saying go Andy.
Oh yeah, okay.
Also, if you've liked the episode of Desk Pop, consider leaving us a review on all major podcast platforms, or subscribing and liking our YouTube page.
Yeah. Or disliking or commenting. It all boosts
any kind
us
of interaction.
it boosts our algorithmic appearance to other people.
Beep beep beep. According to my calculations, if you like, yeah, just like it. Just like it. It takes 2 seconds, and what's the worst that can happen? Yeah.
All right.
You know, what do you got going for?
Well,
just do it.
See you next time.
Yep. We'll see ya. See you around. Fuck you, J.K. Rowling.
Fuck you, J.K. Rowling, again.